Off the field distraction, Coach Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend causing chaos potentially in the future at UNC. We break it down. Plus, does Becky Hammon have a future in the NBA? With all the Greg Popovich news, we got to talk about it. Plus, we have a very special coach of our own joining us here in the den. New Runnin Rebels head coach Josh Pastner joins me for a one-on-one sit-down conversation. You don't want to miss it. SOS starts right now.
Make some noise. This is Sound Off Sports, sponsored by Sam & Ash.
Will Jordon Hudson become a distraction for UNC football? Jake Van Ginkel on Facebook says she loves her portfolio blowing up to over $8 million.
Welcome inside the den here at Fox 5 Studios. Mike Davis alongside my main man, James Edward Barrickman, the fourth.
How we doing?
James, big time show. Can't wait
Sir.
for everybody to see our conversation with Josh Pastner. Love that guy. The guy who's going to lead the Runnin Rebels back to the promised land.
Incredibly exciting. Just a ball of energy doesn't even do it justice. The kind of energy he brings into the room he walks in.
He's an Energizer bunny.
I'm excited, man.
We got a short conversation here. People will be able to see the full thing on our YouTube page, Silver State Sports. But let's talk. We're going to be talking a lot about coaches. Some of the GOATs today. We're going to be talking about Greg Popovich, Becky Hammon a little later in the show. But right now we want to focus on the GOAT of NFL coaches.
Yeah, man.
The great Bill Belichick. 73 years old, obviously in the news a lot right now because of his relationship with Jordon Hudson, 24 years old. Obviously, this interview on CBS Sunday Morning did not go well, did not look good for this happy couple.
Are we sure? Who's happy here? Because it doesn't look like Bill's happy.
Well, that's why I was kind of that's why I used the word happy there, because are they happy? What does this look like from the outside looking in? Listen, I don't want to pass judgment on other people's happiness and their relationships. I'm happy for the happy couple if they are, in fact, happy. From the outside looking in, there might be a lot of problematic situations going on with this. There could be issues of, is Bill 100% there? Is he being controlled? Is he being manipulated?
Who was it that said we need just kind of like a wellness check on Bill Belichick? Was it Charles Barkley?
I think he's the one who did say that, yes. I think Dave Portnoy said something along those lines as well. Listen, it doesn't look good. I mean, and there's a few things I want to break down.
There's something sinister just about the whole situation, and I think that really hit everybody square in the face after that CBS interview, but continue.
Well, 49-year age gap, and I don't even want to just talk about the age gap, but the concern is, people are talking about how this Jordon Hudson has kind of developed or grown into this role beyond a girlfriend. Now she's kind of like a PR manager for Bill Belichick. While he was with the Patriots, there was a guy named Bears, who's now with Bill O'Brien at Boston College, who kind of wrangled interviews. He would reject interviews. He'd accept. Like, he was kind of his right-hand dude. Now this Jordon Hudson has become not just a lover, but like a PR rep. And, she's 24 years old. What does she know about media? What does she know about working in these roles? So it's just puzzling to me that she's been giving so much of a
lot of responsibility.
Yeah. For a guy who's I don't know.
For a guy who, for as long as he's been a coach, has been all about control, handing over the reins and all that kind of responsibility to a 24-year-old just seems so 180. So opposite of what he's been about his entire career. It's interesting. And if you look at her LinkedIn, just in regards to her being a 24-year-old who is now basically Bill Belichick's handler, she's the SID for Bill Belichick.
Is she the SID?
She doesn't have a title. She doesn't work for UNC. And this is what I think is interesting. She's not employed by the University of North Carolina. She doesn't show up on that state as a state employee. Her LinkedIn lists herself as the COO of Belichick Productions, okay?
Right.
And the manager of several other entities that are related to Bill Belichick. Her only other experience on her LinkedIn is a social media brand ambassador for Rebel Athletic. I'm not sure what that is. And before that, a henna artist. A henna artist.
Well,
that is the only other.
She's going to get a notification because you know how LinkedIn works, that James Edward Barrickman IV looked at her LinkedIn. But no, I mean, a henna artist doesn't give you.
She's not qualified.
No.
And so for a guy like Bill Belichick, who, again, has been all about control, even to a fault, it basically ended his NFL coaching career because he wanted too much control. For a guy that has wanted that much control of the situation all his life, to just hand so much of that over to a 24-year-old who you've known for a year or two, well, that seems crazy to me.
Here's what's upsetting is that this is a guy who had 6 Super Bowl rings, right? So he's not getting any job interviews after he's fired from that 4-13 season with the Patriots. Right. And we're thinking, even me on this show is like, how are people not interviewing the greatest coach of all time?
Yes.
And now I think we're learning why he wasn't getting interviews, because he's transformed. He looks different. That interview with CBS Sunday Morning where he's got the ripped Navy shirt. I mean, this sweatshirt's older than her.
Yes.
She's over there acting like she's a PR rep, where it's really it's an upsetting situation. And here's how he classifies her in his new book, because he wasn't doing that interview for his health. He was promoting a book, this new book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from a Life in Football. He writes about Jordon Hudson in the acknowledgement section and in the book, and he calls her an idea mill and a creative muse. I'm just going to tell you, Bill, Jordon Hudson isn't your muse. The person you should be acknowledging as your muse is Tom Brady. Tom Brady was your muse.
Or Robert Kraft, and there was no mention of Robert Kraft in that book either, correct?
I don't know. I haven't read the book, but I'm just saying, and I'm sure he didn't after the way it unfolded it with him firing, but your muse is Tom Brady, the dude who was your quarterback and won 6 Super Bowls with you. It's not Jordon Hudson. Now, the thing that's sad is that Bill Belichick, he has this legacy. He doesn't need this. For her, this is feeding her fire. This is like,
all great stuff for her.
It's all great for Jordon Hudson.
Her real estate portfolio's up over $8 million now. I mean, this is amazing for her.
Now, if he's happy, that's one thing. But I know this. He's not going to be happy if he's unsuccessful at UNC, and that's the question we're really asking here. We're getting too deep into relationships here. The question is this going to be a distraction at UNC? My whole thing is, I think Belichick, for 95% of his career, kept the main thing the main thing. We never even knew this guy.
Do your job.
We never knew this guy had a personality.
Right.
Then he gets fired. He's on McAfee now. He's on the Tom Brady roast. And he's got this great personality, and we're thinking like, man, I love this guy as a media personality.
A lot of image reclamation.
I wish the interview wasn't with CBS Sunday Morning, and I wish it was with Pat McAfee, because I think maybe he would have shown a different side of himself to Pat McAfee, and maybe they could have talked about relationships and what's going on with this in a different manner. But now it's like he's reverting back to old curmudgeon-y Bill Belichick, but he doesn't seem as sure of himself. So it's like he's in this weird limbo phase where it's like he knows how to be the guy he used to be, but at the same time he's kind of changed because he's being puppeted by this 24-year-old girlfriend. So it's all like a weird thing to it's a weird thing to just to view and to like take in. It's you feel bad.
It's so different just from what we've seen his entire career. And in regards to the question at hand, is this going to be a problem and a distraction for UNC football?
How can it not be?
I think it's already a distraction. And it wouldn't be like there's a 50-year age gap between a 73-year-old man and the 24-year-old he's seeing. That's just weird in and of itself, okay? But it wouldn't be a distraction if she wasn't trying to make herself seem more important than she actually is. And so if she just would have let Bill answer the question, oh, how did you meet? This is how we met, on a plane, allegedly. and wasn't interrupting a CBS interview multiple times because she didn't like what was going on. And there's reports now that Hard Knocks that they tried to film on UNC football, she basically shut that whole thing down too. So she is getting in the way and making stories of things that shouldn't be stories. And that, in and of itself, is going to become a distraction for UNC football. I think so.
I mean, she made her way into the Super Bowl commercial with Dunkin' Donuts, all these different things. It's a good deal for Jordon Hudson. And if Bill Belichick doesn't win at UNC with the Tar Heels, it's not going to be such a good deal for Bill. So we'll see what happens, but we want to hear from you. 702-855-3502. Give us a call on this because it's a fascinating story and it's going to be talked about all season long. Coming up after a short break, the great Josh Pastner joins me in studio for a conversation about the Runnin' Rebels.
Will Jordon Hudson become a distraction for UNC football? Jennifer Terzebny on Facebook says, gold digging at its finest.
All right, welcome everybody inside the den here at Fox 5 Studios. Mike Davis, Sound Off Sports. I am with the guy who's going to lead the Runnin' Rebels back to the promised land. This is the guy. Listen, I just want to tell everybody at home right now, UNLVtickets.com, because you might not be able to be a booster. You might not be able to, help out the NIL, but you can get season tickets right now, and you want to be able to say, before things get cooking, that you were back with this team, this program, this organization, as Josh Pastner is with us, the new head coach of the Runnin' Rebels. Josh, Coach, this is a dream job. Your presser, I've never seen so much juice from a coach. I was like, I'm ready to dive for these 50-50 balls for you. Why is this a dream job for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. And you're right. I got to plug this right now. UNLVtickets.com. UNLVtickets.com. Get your tickets now. We need Thomas and Mack filled up to the brink. So please get your tickets. But you're right. Look, I'm a basketball junkie. And what you see with me is what you get when you're talking about the press conference.
Yeah.
I mean, you
couldn't sit still.
No, and I still can't sit still. What I think the most amazing thing, and I'll get to why this is my dream job in a second. I think the most amazing thing is that I am going, since I got the call of the job, the press conference, and to this day, I've literally gone nonstop, very, very little sleep, and I haven't conked out yet. Like, I haven't sat down at a restaurant and just fell into my food yet. So I think that's an amazing accomplishment to this point.
And you got a whole family. You got a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
We got all these transfer portal things going on. You built a staff, and you're still Energizer Bunny.
Absolutely. And so let me just tell you this. Growing up, obviously knowing about the UNLV basketball team back in the 80s and 90s and watching Coach Tarkanian and that whole group and as you know, it was kind of the coolest of the cool.
Yeah.
And the amount that they were at the level that they were winning at. I mean, there was a stretch where they were winning 88% of the games, which is surreal in sports to win that type of level of winning. And then me being at the University of Arizona as a player and then as assistant coach, knowing how great this job is. Obviously, the rival between Arizona and UNLV, and a lot of it was because of Coach Olson and Coach Tarkanian, but those two were the best of the best.
You called them juggernauts in your presser.
Those two were juggernauts.
Yeah.
It was the powerhouses of on the West Coast. And then me coming here for 30 years for grassroots basketball. My father, Hal Pastner, is involved in grassroots basketball and running tournaments. And I actually played in the May Fisher Classic, which was on the UNLV campus. And the gym's no longer there. The tennis centers took over. I coached in it. And then being here for recruiting. So I always knew about this job. And I've always said it's a sleeping giant. It's an incredible job, the incredible success that they've had here. And I got to pinch myself that I'm sitting in that chair. And it's not my job. I've always said this is Las Vegas's team. This is the city's team. This is all the former players, the former coaches. This is their program,
you called
their
yourself
team.
A gatekeeper.
I'm the gatekeeper. I'm just trying to move it forward, re-energize, kind of ignite the fan base, and get it going. So, look, when I was able to put that polo on with UNLV, man, the back of my hair on my neck stood up, and it was pretty cool.
But let me understand this, because what I love about you is you're all in. I'm an all-in guy too. I know about Sid Pastner. I got notes on Sid Pastner.
You're a high-level guy, man. You're high level.
But you're all in like me, which I love. So, after Georgia Tech, after obviously Memphis, you're doing TV with Turner, ESPN, Peacock, NBC, all this stuff. I'm sure there was interest in Josh Pastner for a long time with a lot of jobs. And were you just kind of saying, thank you so much for the call, but I'm not really interested? And then finally this UNLV, this, you called it, I think, a waking giant. Like, was that really the situation when you got the call and there was interest and all that stuff occurring? Thank you so much to Coach Josh Pastner. For the full, complete interview, go to our YouTube page, Silver State Sports.
Does Becky Hammon have a future as an NBA coach? Muffy Edmondson on Facebook says, if she's going to leave, then leave. Stop pulling people's emotions. Ridiculous. Tired of hearing about this story. Not like she can't be replaced.
Well, before Becky Hammon was a two-time WNBA champion as a coach of the Las Vegas Aces, she was an assistant coach with the Spurs organization. And now after the news of the great Greg Popovich transitioning out of his role as head coach to president of basketball operations, of course, there's a lot of talk about Becky Hammon and whether, she could be the one to have that job if she had not left. Now it's going to be Mitch Johnson's going to be the new head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. But, Greg Popovich, 29 seasons, 5
Legendary
NBA championships. He's the winningest coach of all time in the NBA with 1,422 wins. So a true legend, a Hall of Famer. We love Greg Popovich. You and I actually met him briefly at T-Mobile Arena. We didn't I wish we got a picture, but we were so shocked. We were going to a USA basketball game, James and and we just look up from our phones and boom, Greg Popovich is there. And I was like shocked. I love that man. But listen, the question we asked for everybody at home is, does Becky Hammon have a future in the NBA? Of course, this is somebody who played in the WNBA with the Liberty, had so much success here in the WNBA in Las Vegas. But, it begs the question. I mean, she was with the Spurs from 2014 to 2021. If she had not have left,
she might be the head coach of the Spurs right now.
Which would be, of course,
unprecedented,
historic, historic in nature. She became the first acting head coach who was a female in 2020 when Popovich got ejected in a game, and that was a big storyline at that time. I actually think she probably would have had the job. Mitch Johnson was a G League player, played point guard at Stanford with those Brooke and Robin Lopez teams, but she was in the feeder system before him,
Yeah, no doubt. I have an idea in my head of how many NBA teams would take Becky Hammon as their head coach right now, because there's an argument to be made that outside of Cheryl Reeve, who is better all time, has more accolades at the WNBA level, that right now Becky Hammon is the best coach in the WNBA. She's got a 75% regular season win percentage. That's number one among coaches with 100 games.
Yeah.
Her playoff win percentage, 76%. That's number one among coaches with 10 playoff games played. So pretty crazy numbers for Becky Hammon at the WNBA level, who's been dominant and efficient since she's reached it. So Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, and she's part of the Popovich tree.
No doubt.
And that's a big thing.
Exactly.
Is I think Dawn Staley would be a great coach as well in the NBA, and I'm sure there's a bunch of female
She's
head
already
coaches
got that experience
who could
at
definitely
the NBA
do that.
level.
But I think under the guise of the Popovich conversation here, the Popovich tree, from Steve Kerr to Ime Udoka to Mike Budenholzer to Brett Brown, Mike Brown, all these people, Will Hardy, Quinn Snyder, Taylor Jenkins. I mean, she being a part of that, I think, is just a boost on her resume as well.
Absolutely, no question about it. And she was the hottest commodity coming into the WNBA. So my question to you, because I have an idea in my head of how many NBA teams would take Becky Hammon right now as their head coach. We got 30 seconds. I'm going to rapid fire these off to you. Jordi Fernandez and the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay, I'd take Becky.
Tom Thibodeau and the New York Knicks.
I'd take Thibodeau.
Nick Nurse and the Philadelphia Sixers.
Nurse is a great coach, but I think Becky could be just as good.
Billy Donovan, Chicago
Billy
Bulls.
Donovan.
JB Bickerstaff, Detroit Pistons.
He did a good job this year. You got to give him credit.
Rick Carlisle, Indiana Pacers.
Rick.
I know how I would answer this. Doc Rivers, Milwaukee Bucks.
Honestly, I like Doc, but I would take Becky.
Brian Keefe, Washington Wizards.
Oh, Becky.
That's all we have time for.
I mean, but that
I
gives you a
wish
good
we could have
sense.
gone through this, but like, there's a good amount of teams that I think would take Becky Hammon right now. Is there
100%, and I think the Popovich inspiration, the Popovich tree, that means a lot. So we wish the best to Greg Popovich and his family. Thank you for everything you've done, not only as a coach, but as a person. You've been such an inspiration, and we're wishing you all the best as El Jefe. Guys, coming up after a short break, it's time for Sink or Swim.
Does Becky Hammon have a future as an NBA coach? Jeanette Anacito Wheel on Facebook says, yes, she's a great candidate, but she's already said she's enjoying being back in the W.
Well, if the Shador story could just get more Shador, it's getting more Shador currently. Shador Sanders, 144th overall pick in the draft, goes to the Browns. We all know the story. He slides to the 5th round. Well, now his number that he's going to be wearing with the Browns has come out. Dylan Gabriel is going to be wearing number 5, and Shador Sanders is going to be wearing 12.
Right.
A lot of things on Twitter, on X happening. People talking it's Deion's number backwards. It's Tom Brady, his mentor, who passed on him 5 times. It's his number. It's 12 times 12 is 144. So there's a lot of different things people are talking about. Is this just a non-story? Do you think Shador actually chose this because of Brady?
I don't want to think so, but I mean, maybe. There's a lot of internet kind of nonsense.
He's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm rooting for him to start. Who do you think starts week 1 for the Browns?
Joe Flacco.
There we go.
Yeah, the great Joe Flacco from Audubon. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you always give us a buzz, 702-855-3502. We always want to hear your thoughts. Plus, make sure you go to our YouTube page, Silver State Sports. You can see so much of our content, our full conversation with Coach Josh Pastner will be there as well. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us. Until then, Mike Davis, James Edward Barrickman IV. We'll see you next time here in the Den for Sound Off Sports.